Welcome back to Lunch and Learn Level Up Your Career. I know we took a summer hiatus for just a little bit, but we're back and better than ever this week or this month. Not this week, we don't release these weekly, but this episode we have on Jeff Witous. He is an alumnus of the Cal Poly chapter. He's insanely amazing, very, very kind individual too.
Yes. Very excited to talk with him about entrepreneurship and also volunteerism. He does a lot with Lambda Chi Alpha and other ventures in his life on the volunteer side. So just a really good person to get advice from. So whether you're a chapter officer, whether you're just a regular member, or you're entering the workforce, I think there's a lot that we can learn from Jeff and all of his experience.
Absolutely. So we'll get into it. All right, we're here with Jeff Witous, a brother from Cal Poly. I almost said the full name of it, and then I realized I didn't know what the full name was. But Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jeff, for joining us on this next episode of Lunch and Learn. So, obviously we take this time to kind of talk to our alumni in various different fields, just about, anything from resume to professionalism. In this conversation, we'll be talking about entrepreneurship and volunteerism, because you have a very important history and background in that. So again, just excited to have you on. And just for those of you listening and watching, to give you a little background on Jeff. So Jeff's career spans 4 decades in the technology industry, whereas he has held the CEO position for over 30 years for both public and private software companies. He is also the founder and general partner for a private equity and venture capital firm. And Jeff, you have guest lectured at multiple universities, and you've been active in various philanthropic endeavors. You were also involved in the really exciting regional chapter project and bringing that back to the San Diego area. So just really involved. So I'll stop my kind of elevator pitch of you and let you talk for yourself. So yeah, if you want to fill in any intro on yourself based on what I just said, that would be great.
Perfect. So I would start by my entrepreneurship began when I was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a freshman at Cal Poly. And that was the year Animal House came out. And my parents were in fraternities and sororities, grandparents, even a great grandparent was in a fraternity. I had this romantic idea of what that was going to be like. And that wasn't the case. And so it was toga parties and the frat guy thing.
Yep.
And that wasn't me. So don't get me wrong, I liked having fun, but I knew a fraternity was a lot more than the party.
Right.
And fortunately, Lambda Chi Alpha colonized that year at Cal Poly, and I joined the colony. And while my 17-year-old self didn't understand it at the time, that was my first startup.
Mm-hmm.
And
essentially,
yeah.
Right. And so I was initiated, and a week later I was elected Rush chairman. And it was right after my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And so, I saw that Lambda Chi had a different product. It was about developing leadership skills, learning to be a philanthropist.
Yeah.
And learning leadership, it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And so, again, I didn't know it at the time, but my experience building the business to be the best fraternity at Cal Poly, that was the goal, not to just be another fraternity,
Right.
be the best. And we were. Within 3 years, we dominated. And it's because we treated the brotherhood, that was part of it, but we treated the business like a business. So every officer had their responsibilities. And then you become, in my case, I became the president of the chapter. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was a CEO in training.
Yeah.
And I will tell the audience right now that take my word for it. This experience, being an officer in your fraternity, is essential to your career growth. It's absolutely essential to develop those muscles. And I'd like to say, try not to squander the gift, right? Ignorance is no excuse. Go in, do the work, you'll get back 10x.
Right.
And
right.
You'll entertain me. I'm going to tell you a story.
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
So a number of years ago, I was asked to speak at Stanford to their MBA class. And the topic was how I took a company public, a tech company, all of that boring stuff. And I like the Q&A. So they're passing the microphone around. It's like, okay, bring it, whatever. And this one student stands up and says, hey, you've done this, this, and this, which is great. What was the hardest job you ever had? I didn't hesitate. I said, being the president of my fraternity. And the audience starts laughing, including probably 24 professors in the back of the room. So I'm like, okay, calm down.
Right.
I said, I got a question for all you professors in the back of the room. Can any of you identify a single successful enterprise in business history where your employees don't get paid? There's no stock options. They don't have to be there. You actually have to accomplish something.
Right.
And there was silence in the room. And I wasn't lying. It was the hardest job I ever had. The business world is no different. And to my younger brothers out there that are officers, this is real. This isn't a club. You take on a role as an officer, it's the same stuff in the business world. I have not sat in a boardroom or an executive management team meeting and seen anything new since I was an undergrad. It's the same stuff.
Right.
Learning the tools to motivate people. And to all my brothers, regardless of what your major is, if you cannot learn the skills to motivate people to your point of view, your career will go nowhere. I don't care if you're an engineer or a doctor or a sales guy. It's how do you convince other people to follow your point of view? This is the sandbox. Don't squander it. So that was my first startup.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, you said it perfectly. And I think that you brought up a point that I always like to use, when we're talking about the officer experience, the Lambda Chi experience, is that, this is a sandbox, right? This is an experience that you can experiment and you can learn and fail, and learn, those critical skills that you take with you your entire life. And it truly is what you make of it, right? And I think that that's what we're trying to get across through this series and through just the Lambda Chi experience, is that these are skills that stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great.
I think it's interesting too, hearing from your time as a founding father at Cal Poly, and recently me talking to some of our, like Georgia, for example, they are one of our newest chapters. The idea of the entrepreneurship mindset and the feel of that, all the way from when you guys started at Cal Poly to now, it's the same thing. It is the exact same thing.
And I think people hear entrepreneurship and they think, I'm not ready to start a company or start
Right.
a business. It's a mindset to be an innovator. You go to school, you get your degree, hopefully get some good work experience. You've got leadership experience from the fraternity. It's okay to go to work for a Fortune 500 company. Just be in that innovator, entrepreneurial mindset, and your career will take off. Don't wait for your boss to tell you to fix something you already know's broken. Innovate, fix. And it starts there. And not everyone is ready to jump off the diving board into the deep end to start something from scratch. I wasn't. It took me, you know, uh, being with a Fortune 50 company technology to then step off and go to this early stage company called Sun Microsystems, which ended up being the fastest growing company in business history in the 80s.
Wow.
But I was round two. I wasn't round one. But it was scary, right? And then, I rode that wave. It was great. And the company did phenomenally well. But it gave me the courage to then start my own company, right? I wasn't a founder of that Sun, but I was early enough to see the sausage making, right?
Yeah.
And
that gave me the courage to start my own company in 1993.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so, Jeff, I kind of want to go back to that idea of, the mindset, right? And that opportunity mindset. So, in your opinion, how can someone kind of spot that potential, whether it's a new business idea or whether it's, a potential new member, as we relate it back to Lambda Chi Alpha, what's kind of that, I guess that spark that you see?
It's about finding a problem. And as I tell other entrepreneurs, young ones, as if they're in a problem and it's not a big enough problem, don't be a solution looking for a problem.
Right.
So, and I think one of the errors that people make is they get caught up in the solution and they don't have a well qualified problem.
Gotcha.
And you have to constantly validate that pain. If the pain isn't there, the pain isn't big enough, no need for a solution.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that entrepreneurs tend to fail at is qualifying whether someone is willing to pay you in a profitable way for the solution to their problem.
Right.
So what they'll do is they'll ask potential customers, hey, do you like this solution to your problem? And they say yes. And they forget to ask the next question, which is, are you willing to pay this amount of money for it?
Right. So then how do we kind of relate that to then, the chapter experience, and, kind of having that entrepreneurial mindset when it comes to, being an officer or maybe a founding father?
Yeah. I literally had this discussion with two officers, our chapter in San Diego, yesterday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Perfect timing.
it was perfect timing. It was their high row and their high alpha.
Okay.
And they were talking about plans for the fall semester, and it was really to talk to the high row, but the alpha was on the call. And I said, you don't have to stay in your lane. Okay, you're the alumni chair.
Right.
As a high row. And here's the 2 or 3 things you want and need to do. Advisory board, sending out newsletters, the blocking and tackling.
Right.
But I said, you got to think differently. You got to think in 3 or 4 dimensions as a high zeta. Right. There are events that I gave him an example that is a brotherhood event, but it also has an alumni chair feel to it because the alumni are involved. So that's where the officers need to understand how to collaborate on an activity. The high theta, we had this discussion, went way beyond high row. The high theta and your social chairman, high epsilon, can work together to do an exchange with a sorority where you're helping their philanthropic effort that endures you and your brotherhood to that sorority.
Right.
With something they're doing to raise money for one of their causes. So I was really coaching the high alpha, which is you're the conductor of the orchestra. You've got to look at your high zeta in terms of collaboration.
Right.
And also the other thing for the entrepreneurial mindset and the officer, do something you're going to be proud of to look back on.
Right.
So last year, the regional started a golf tournament.
Yeah.
And it was to support the Warrior for Peace Foundation.
Right.
It was a big deal. Well, that discussion with their high theta happened well over a year ago. And he took the challenge because I challenged the officers. Do something you could be proud of for decades.
Right.
And that young man who's now graduated is going to be proud of that.
Oh, absolutely.
He started that, gets to say.
Yeah.
It was a huge impact. First tournament, and they raised $20-something thousand.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better.
That's super cool. Yeah. Well, and that's something too that he can then take with him and say, look what I started. This was innovative, and this is something that I kind of headed the effort. And I think, Jeff, with what you were saying too about, officers kind of not staying in their lane, that also really translates to the professional world, because there's so much cross collaboration that you do in a professional setting. I'm just thinking about what Mackenzie and I do in marketing here. Like, we talk to so many different people, so many different departments. So yeah, if we just, said, okay, Mackenzie, you're just staying in social media, we wouldn't be able to do half of the cool things that we do. Right. So I think that's so important.
Yeah. And, I think our younger brothers and those seeking office, they need to hear the stories. They need to hear, like I told Jake, who was the High Theta for the regional a year and a half ago. I told him about something that was started at our chapter at UC Santa Barbara, which is 90 minutes from Cal Poly. And it was called the Inter Sorority Volleyball Tournament, where they took over the beach in Santa Barbara. And it was sororities from all throughout the Southwest sent teams for beach volleyball tournament. I think they probably had 20 nets on the beach.
Wow.
It got so big. It was covered on ESPN.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Right?
Awesome.
So I tell these young entrepreneurs and our younger brothers and leaders, think big, do big. Think small, do small.
Right.
Do something you're proud of.
Absolutely. I got to talk to Jake actually, because we put out a story about that golf tournament, and it was really cool to hear about, and just like having that be the first one that the regional put on and how successful it was really awesome. And then their look to the future, I'm sure it's going to do well. I know it's going to, because of their drive for it. But I want to backtrack a little bit and talk more about relationship building in this entrepreneurial mindset, and just in general. So how can that really make or break your success?
So it's all about the people, right? And so, having run organizations with thousands of employees, it's the single toughest thing to do, is to hire right and so forth. I will tell you that the companies that do well, and some of our successful brothers that run other companies will attest to this, is you have to have a corporate ethos. You have to have a set of core values for the business, and you need to live by those principles and values. And they really closely mirror our 7 core values. They do in my company,
right?
And in my companies, and that tells you things like you need to assess whether you're hiring someone that's going to live a life based on core values, or is it just about the money?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's also through action, which is living by your own rules and not making excuses for when people break them. Jerry Stead, as we all know, one of the most successful Lambda Chis in history.
Yes.
I look up to him. And Jerry has a saying, there's no right way to do the wrong thing.
Yep.
Right? And you'll see in the business world you'll learn it in the fraternity. There's people that don't behave right. And if you're the leader of that organization and you don't address that, you will lose the respect of everyone.
Yep.
All you Lambda Chi's out there, take what you've learned in our teachings as a great foundation for how you operate your businesses going forward, and just walk the walk. You know.
Yeah.
And that will set you free.